Bhagavate Va- Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, Hare Doris. Thank you very much for joining. Wanted to seek the blessing of Radha Madhav, Radha Shyam Sundar, Krishna Balaram, Bal Gopal, Gonitai, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembled devotees. So, wanted to talk about Radharani. So this is part 2, Radha, the embodiment of love. The ultimate development of love for God is Radharani. Although she is God, and only God can really be the embodiment of love for God. But she's the female counterpart. So it's a little different, but at the same time, one and the same. Radharani is the ultimate repository of all good qualities. When we speak of Radharani, we're speaking about the original feminine quality. In the material world, we find male and female. And in the Old Testament, there is a description that God created humankind in his own image, male and female. So this means ultimately that God is in this sense, is male and female. Female Radharani, male Krishna. But not quite the same, of course, as the male and female in this world. Cannot compare the material and the spiritual. The female is also coming from Krishna, the original cause. And what is she? She is that pleasure potency of the Supreme Lord, which is love for the Supreme Lord. And the technical word is Hladini. Hladini is the word that is often used in the Sanskrit texts, which is the potency of love of God. The essence of love of God is emotion, bhav, and ultimate development of emotion is Mahabhav. So Srimati Radharani is the embodiment of Mahabhav. Her mind, senses, and body are steeped in love for Krishna. So this is very important to understand that because the focus of love is so deep, it's non-different from Krishna. It is so intense. Intense is the word, I think. She is Krishna's own energy and she helps him in his pastimes. Srimati Radharani is as fully spiritual as Krishna. No one should consider her to be material. She is all spiritual. So this is very interesting. Just like Krishna is fully spiritual, so is Radharani, completely and utterly spiritual. Radha, the original mother. When we speak of Radha, we are speaking of the energy of Krishna, which is loving Krishna. The energy of God, which is loving God. We are all parts and parcel of God. And we have the potency to love God. And this is due to Radharani. Radharani gives him great pleasure. So that's why she's known as Bhakti Devi. Bhakti means devotional service. So only due to the mercy of Radharani can we actually engage in bhakti or have some bhakti for the Lord. This is the mercy of Radharani. Very important to understand this. Because then when we understand this, we can approach her and say, please give me more bhakti. So I can immerse myself in always thinking of the Lord and loving the Lord, just like you are. We don't want to replace Radharani, but we want to follow in her footsteps. Radharani is the ultimate surrendered entity to God, although she's God herself. And we are all ultimately dominated parts and parcel of God, who should be surrendering to God. So our business is rendering service or surrendering to Radha Krishna. Radharani is the original mother. There are so many universes, and in every universe, there is a mother of the universe. Radharani is the original mother. So as Krishna is our father, Krishna is also our mother, Krishna is our friend, Krishna is our master. Radharani is that aspect of Krishna that is our mother. Krishna is our mother in Radharani. We cannot separate Radha from Krishna. So when we say Krishna is our mother, we say Radha is our mother. There is no difference. When we pray to Radharani, we must be praying, I am spirit soul, she is my mother. Radharani is the perfect original lover of Krishna. So this is the expansions of Radha now we're talking about. She is the original lover of Krishna, although not separate from Krishna. It is described that just as Lord Krishna is the cause of all incarnations, so Sri Radha is the cause of all consorts, namely the goddesses of fortune, that's Lakshmi Devi, the queens headed by Rukmini and Satyabhama, the milkmaids headed by Lalita and Vishaka of Braj. They all proceed from Radha. Another way to describe the goddess of fortune is Lady Luck. The gamblers hope Lady Luck is with them. The goddess of fortune, Lady Luck. The goddess of fortune is a partial manifestation of Srimati Radharani. And the queens, those who are loving Krishna in the spiritual world as queens, they are described as reflections of Radharani's image. The goddesses of fortune are her plenary portions, and they display the forms of Vaibhav Vilas. It is explained that there are many manifestations of Srimati Radharani to assist in the Lord's pastimes. So this is similar to Krishna because he also has Vaibhav Vilas forms, which look similar to him, but they are plenary portions of him. An example is like Balaram. In the spiritual world, you find many types of helpers in the pastimes of Krishna, in the form of goddesses of fortune, in the form of queens, in the form of consorts. So they all come from Radharani to increase the enjoyment of the Lord, Krishna. To increase his enjoyment, there are many who come from Radha. These are all ultimately coming from Radharani. So in Radha, you find the original perfect beloved. When we speak of Radha, we speak of Krishna's original perfect beloved, the perfect beloved of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When we speak of Krishna, we are speaking of the supreme enjoyer. He's Purush. Purush means supreme enjoyer. The supreme enjoyer is enjoying Radha. What is he enjoying? He's enjoying his loving relationship that he's having with Radha. Although they're one and the same, they're still separate. This is Chintya Bede Bede Tattva. It's inconceivably one and different at the same time. It is love. Why is he attracted to Radha? He's attracted to Radha because of her perfection in her love for him, Krishna. The love that Radharani is having for Krishna cannot be separated from the love she has for all the children of Krishna. This is why Radharani controls Krishna. It's because of her compassion. She loves everyone. And that is very endearing to Krishna. As the mother, she loves all of the children of Krishna. So when we approach Radharani, and we have to understand that more than anything else, she wants me to be happy, loving Krishna. This is the beauty of Radharani. She'll put herself in the background and put us forward because she wants us to be loving Krishna. And she wants Krishna to see how much love we have for him. She wants to introduce me to Krishna and make it so that I can actually be having Krishna so that I can be happy. This is the mercy of Radha. So we can see why she's so important in the Bhakti Marg. Right? Very, very important personality. So, who worships who? Radhopanishad states that the personality whom Sri Krishna worships is known as Radha. And the personality whom Radha worships is known as Krishna. So they both worship one another. Radha and Krishna have one intellect, one mind, one soul, even one face. That is why there is no difference between these two. If somebody thinks there is to be a difference, it is an offense. It is a different matter altogether that somebody says they are separate from the point of view of nectar and lila. So very important to understand. Narad Pancharatram states that she is a supreme personality, beyond whom there is no other. Rishabhanu's daughter Radha is the primordial nature from whom everything came into being. It is also stated that Krishna's half part is Radha, and Radha's half part is Krishna. Shri Krishna says, I have assumed the form of Radha. Radha says, I have assumed the form of Krishna. Radha is saying, the form of Krishna is none other than myself. When I assume the male form, people start calling me Krishna. Very confusing to understand this, but we have to understand that they are both one and the same. Radha is the source of. Again, Narad Pacharatra states that just as milk and milk's whiteness are the same, likewise, Radha and Krishna are the same. Or we could say the sun and the sunshine are the same. Without sunshine, without sun, there would be no sunshine. And without sunshine, there's no meaning to sun. The whiteness of milk cannot and should not be separated from milk itself. In the same way, no one can separate the milk from the whiteness. Both are the same. Mahalakshmi, the consort of Mahavishnu, the creator of countless universes, is manifested from Radha's left side. Durga, Jayanti, Kali, Bhadrakali, Kapalini, Durga, Shama, Shivadratri, Swaha, Tvada, and Vaishnavi are all born from fractions of Kishoriji. So Kishoriji is another name for Radha. Vyasadev states in the Brahma Vaivarta Puran the meaning of the name Radha, the one who fulfills desires of an individual, who sheds a few tears, is known as Radha. So this is very important. When we're before Radharani, if we can shed some tears, she will become attracted. She will become compassionate, very compassionate. She's already compassionate. First utter the name of Radha, then Krishna. Hare Krishna, Radha Krishna. One who does kirtan in this manner attains Golok. Radha's name is uttered first. No one says Krishna Radha. Everyone says Radha Krishna, Shyama Shyama. These topics of divine and spiritual love between Radha and Krishna will remain always a mystery as long as we remain on the material platform. Love on the spiritual platform is devoid of selfishness. The needs and interests of the other take precedence over one's own needs. In the material world, it's absolutely the opposite. How can my wishes, my needs be fulfilled without caring for anybody else? In the spiritual world, it's the other way around. That's why the banyan tree example is given by Krishna in the 15th chapter. Upside down. Everything's upside down in this world. The kind of love that comes closest to spiritual love is the love exhibited by a mother towards her child. It's full of sacrifice and it's completely selfless. It is without expectation. The feeling of love is derived from the service itself. The child is limited in its capacity to reciprocate the mother's love. Even if it increases its demands, the mother keeps on giving. Most of us can only imagine a relationship where the reciprocation of love and service is completely selfless, without expectation. It is a kind of love our hearts hanker for. This is very difficult. And of course, the mother is the closest example in this material world of selfless love. But even then, it's not the perfect example. Nothing comes close to spiritual love. The path of bhakti or devotional service prepares one's heart and consciousness by eradicating selfishness and incorporating selflessness to understand and experience that divine love which exists between Radha and Krishna. So to be happy in this world, you have to become selfless, because that is the position we attain in this spiritual world. So if we have that selflessness mood, we're already in the spiritual world. We're already qualified to be in the spiritual world. But it's a very hard position to be in, where you become selfless. You serve, you're working for others. You are just pleasing others. You're caring for your own needs. Very difficult. So what does Prabhupada say? Without Radha, there is no meaning to Krishna. Without Krishna, there's no meaning to Radha. Because of this, the Vaishnava philosophy, first of all, pays obeisances to and worships the internal pleasure potency of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the Lord and his potency are always referred to as Radha Krishna. Now, perhaps before Chaitanya, or perhaps before Madhavacharya, Radha didn't really feature in many temples. It was mainly Krishna or Narayan. But after Madhavacharya brought out the secret of Radharani, and then, of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, then the deity of Radha was installed together with Krishna, generally speaking. Anyone who comes before Radharani to serve Krishna, oh, she becomes so pleased. Oh, here is a devotee of Krishna. She immediately recommends, oh, Krishna, here is a devotee. This is Radharani. I may not be a devotee. I may be a most fallen rascal. But if I try to reach Krishna through Radharani, then my business is successful. Once Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was asked, how can one receive the complete mercy of Krishna, Shri Krishna? He answered, when Srimati Radharani accepts someone as her own, then only is the full mercy of Krishna accessible to him. So this is what we want. We want to pray to Radha. Treat me like your own. I am one of yours. Like when we met the Brijbasis, the children, we asked them, let us become part of your family. We're not here, we're not helping you, you're helping us. And just consider us as your own. Because if the Brijbasis consider us as their own, they are already belonging to Radharani. So we will also become part of that family. What does the Bhagavatam say? Bhagavatam is predominantly the story of Krishna, but Radha is not mentioned anywhere within it. Although Radha's name is not explicitly mentioned in the Bhagavatam, it is Radha present in it. Radha is present in it. The Bhagavatam is saturated with Radha because Bhagavatam is principally a scripture of devotion, bhakti, meaning Radha. Wherever there's bhakti, there's Radha is there automatically. Her name may not be present in the Bhagavatam, but the concept of bhakti flows through the Bhagavatam in every canto. Bhagavatam is the literal form of Radha. Krishna and Radha is the life and soul of it. This is a very simple reason why Bhagavatam feels so powerful and effective when we listen or narrate it. Our previous acharyas explained 2 reasons why Radha's name is not openly stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Katha is being narrated, the first reason, Katha is being narrated by Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. And the Guru, the teacher of Sukadeva, is Radha. Once Sukadeva Goswami was in the form of a green parrot in a leafy bower in a kunja, when Radha and Krishna were on a stroll. Seeing the parrot utter, Radha, Radha, Radhi, Radhi. Radha affectionately approached the parrot. The parrot flew and rested on Radha's hand. Radha stroked him and said, Sukha, not Radhe, not Radhe, chant Krishna, Krishna. This way Radha herself initiated Sukadeva Goswami. Now as a sign of respect, a disciple will not utter his or her Gurudev's name. This is why, whilst narrating the Katha, Sukadeva Goswami does not explicitly mention Radha's name. He states it indirectly in the form of Shri. For example, Shri Bhagavan says, Shri means Radha. So the second reason is why Radha's name is not in the Bhagavatam. Sukadeva Goswami will go into a trance on merely listening to Radha's name, let alone saying it. If Sukadeva Goswami enters a trance, then who will narrate the entire Bhagavad Gita to Maharaj Pariksit to provide him salvation when he has only 7 days from it? These are two reasons. There's other reasons as well, but these are the two main reasons. For this reason, Sukadeva Goswami did not speak about Radha directly, although he did mention the word Aradhita, indicating her name. And the verse is Anayo Radhito Nunam Bhagavan Hari Ishwara Yono Vihaya Govinda Prito Yam Anayadra. Translation: certainly this particular gopi, Radha, has perfectly worshipped the all-powerful personality of Godhead, Govinda, since he was so pleased with her that he abandoned the rest of us and brought her to a secluded place. That's in the 10th canto, 30th chapter, 28th verse. So what does Krishna have to say? My beauty defeats the beauty of infinite million cupids. And though it gives pleasure to the three worlds, seeing Radharani gives pleasure to my eyes. Vibration of my transcendental fruit attracts the three worlds, but my ears are enchanted by the words of Radha. I am the source of happiness for the entire world, but Radha is the source of my happiness. So this is just an idea of the material, the spiritual worlds, and we have Golok, where Radha and Krishna reside. And this is the lotus upon which they sustain themselves. Of course, they sustain the lotus because they are the supreme. And in the middle is Radha and Krishna, surrounded by the gopis and the parents and the gopas. And this is an idea of what the spiritual world may look like. Okay, so I think we can let's continue this. Hopefully tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Friday. Yeah. Hopefully tomorrow we should continue this. Any questions? Any comment? Naniben, anything you'd like to ask?
Yes, probably. Few things.
Yeah.
One is, the Paramatma, the partial representation of Krishna. Does it include Radha as well in our heart?
Oh yeah.
I'm sure it does. It does, isn't it?
Yeah, not necessarily Radha, because Paramatma is a partial manifestation of the Supreme. But with Paramatma will always be Lakshmi Devi. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Lakshmi Narayan. They're always together. Always together.
Always together. Yeah. Now, other thing is that the plenary portions of the Krishna, are they all, I feel they're all the same potency and the same capacity as Krishna. Is that true?
Not necessarily. Krishna is full in all of the various potencies. As soon as he expands into, for example, Balaram, a very slight amount is reduced. And then as he continues to, expand and have more incarnations, slightly less. So for example, Vishnu has 60 qualities, and it said Krishna has 4 more. So they are Vishnu Tattva, they are practically speaking as powerful as Krishna, but there's certain elements they do not possess. And these elements are, for example, the 4 are basically, he's the best flute player, best dancer, his devotees are the greatest, and his pastimes are just inconceivable. So those 4 qualities don't necessarily exist in the incarnations.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. The last question is that I'm confused because I thought all the sort of not Devtas, but the Devis, they all came from Parvati. But here we are saying that they're all coming expansions of Radharani.
Yeah, but in this material world, yes, there is a Durga who is actually in the spiritual world, right? There is
Yeah.
a Durga in the spiritual world. So
Mhm.
that Durga, and that is actually like Subhadra, right? That's like Subhadra. So she comes from Radha, but from Subhadra or the spiritual Durga comes the material Durga. So
Okay.
it's not directly from Radharani. It's come from an expansion of an expansion of an expansion. So yes, Parvati will be the source of many of the Devis in this world. Correct.
But in the material world, isn't it?
In the material world, yes.
Spiritual world, Durga Ma is there. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And
Yeah.
also the last question. It's very difficult to understand this concept of Radha Krishna being one. But at the same time, Krishna loves her, and Mahabharata.
Yeah.
What we think, it's a bit hard because they all worship one another, but they're all one and the same. Like
It is. You know, there's so many tattvas. Jiva tattva, that's who we are. Even that's hard to understand. Shiva tattva is very hard. Guru tattva is very hard. But nothing is harder than Radha tattva. To understand Radha tattva is extremely hard. So you're right. It's very hard. I think we are very fortunate that somehow, Prabhupada and the Acharyas have given us this fantastic flavor of Radharani. So even if we don't understand it, if we just stand in front of her with a few tears, asking her, please make me your own, that's enough. Don't need to do anything more. She'll automatically reveal herself if she wants to. And even if she doesn't matter. Because as soon as there's a tear in front of Radharani, she's going to say to Krishna, he's yours. You got no choice. He's yours now. Look after him. So this is the beauty of Radha.
Okay. Yes, that was very interesting.
Yeah, but you're spot on. She's very hard to, but on your own, you're not going to have fun. That's why he expands himself. And this expansion is completely independent of him. This is the thing that is so interesting about Krishna. When he expands, especially this Hladini Shakti, she can control him, but she's come from him. This is the extraordinary aspect of Radha Tattva. She's completely independent of Krishna, although she comes from Krishna. So
I think it's best to leave the mental speculation and just consider Radha Krishna as one. That's it.
Yeah. But then when it comes to Leela and emotions, they separate. And that's where we get attracted, because when we pastimes of Radha and Krishna, they're so sweet. You fall in love with that sweetness, So if you just think about Krishna and not regarding Radha, it's good, but we miss out on that sweetness. And that sweetness is what touches the heart. And that's where we want our hearts to be at the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna, and that can only really happen when Radha is in the equation. Although they're one and the same, but Radha needs to be there in a prominent place. We're actually approaching Radha to approach Krishna. Of course, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati did say we're approaching Krishna to get Radha, but actually Radharani is so kind and merciful. We take shelter of her. Yeah. That's why Radhasmi is considered more important than Janmashtami, especially in Vrindavan. So,
okay, thanks, Prabhuji.
No, thank you for the questions. I appreciate that. Okay, if there's nobody else,
Krishna, Prabhuji.
No, yes.
I have one question. Is it true that Srimati Radharani had someone cursed Srimati Radharani and she had to come on earth and she wouldn't marry Krishna? Is it true this?
Yes, and that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Correct. Yeah,
okay.
there's quite a leela. There's quite a leela that took place. Yeah, absolutely.
So it was with Sudama and
yes,
Sudama.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. It's one of those. Yes, Sridham.
Sridham. Okay.
Yeah. We'll talk about it in some Well, we'll try to talk about it. Is I have to say, this is quite tough to get the head around as well.
Last time we were inviting all our colleagues to come for Radhashtami. So
Right.
one of my colleague, he had just asked, is that true? Because this has been shown on TV and in this, there's a
Right.
serial going on in Mauritius. I told him, yeah, I will confirm, but I'm sure I've heard that. But there
Yeah.
are many things that they have added in that
Oh,
serial,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
which that's not true. I mean, there are many things that's not true.
And there's probably a lot of masala.
So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, it's many things they have added.
But this is something that's given in the Puranas, in the Brahma Vivarta Purana. So it is something that has got a scriptural reference to it.
Okay.
And maybe you can, I can send you this presentation and you can just forward it to them, so they'll have
Yeah.
they can read it from them for themselves.
Yeah.
No, thank you for.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
We will go through it tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we can stop. Srimati Radharani ki jai.